This episode of The Static Traveller is brought to you by Holiday Travel Fantasies. Now, we're all here because we love travelling, and once this lockdown is over and done with, you're going to want to get the best deal that you can to get out and about and back travelling all over the world. Now, you might be saying to yourself, where can I get the best deal? I'll tell you where. Holiday Travel Fantasies. A fully qualified and regulated travel agent working for a renowned and fully protected ABDA member with over 25-year experience in the travel industry. Now, whether your next holiday is a honeymoon, family break, weekend break, it's a cruise, whether you're just looking for hotels, flights, car hire or excursion, they really do it all. Now, they partner with major suppliers to make it more easier for you to work out the best package that suits your needs and your budget, and you should contact them at www.wiltrudebonzo.inteltravel.uk/booktravel.cfm. The link is in the description. Or you can also email them at travelfantasies473@yahoo.com. Holiday Travel Fantasies, where they do really look forward to getting the best deal for you. Now that's done, let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to The Static Traveller with me, James. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Static Traveller, the podcast where I speak to travellers of the past and the present from around the globe, and I let them tell you in their own words about their adventures throughout this amazing world. Now today's guests are Travel Couple Kravingadventure, and also known as Oksana. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Oksana and Roman.
Yeah.
So both Oksana and Roman are originally from Ukraine, but they've both moved to the States and now based in Detroit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you met within your Ukrainian community, you said, didn't you?
Yeah. I actually knew his brother before I actually met him. Before I met Roman, and we met at a wedding, at a mutual friend's wedding, for the first time.
Okay, so you guys, you are not full-time travellers, but again, that doesn't matter. It doesn't stop you guys. I've been looking through some of the places you've been, so I've got Cancun, Las Vegas, LA, the Philippines, France, Toronto, Monaco, Spain, Bali, New Zealand, and the one and only Amsterdam. So I mean, you guys have done a fair bit of travelling, for not being full-time travellers.
Right. Yeah, we try. Well, we're fortunate with our jobs that we have at least a decent amount of vacation days, and then we work around that schedule and kind of mooch off an extra day if there's a holiday or something. We try to go on those to kind of get extra days of traveling. So we've been at least fortunate on that side, where our careers give us about 20 days of vacation. In those 20 days, we try to fit in as much as possible.
Yeah, take advantage of the Thanksgiving break, stuff like that.
Okay, so why don't you guys introduce yourselves a bit more? Give everybody an idea of who you are and what make you guys tick, and just let everybody know a bit more about yourselves.
Yeah, so I'll start. I again grew up in Ukraine. Well, I grew up in Ukraine until 3 years old. Then I came to the United States when I was relatively young. So I grew up in Michigan. I went through school, college, graduated from a university in Detroit. So I commuted to my university and graduated with a bachelor's degree in marketing. And then from there, I received an internship that turned into a full-time job for a top automotive supplier. Since then, I've been doing marketing for the same supplier, and also started my MBA, and I'll be graduating soon with my MBA with concentrations in marketing and international business by end of this year. So I'm excited about that. And then Roman?
I was also born in Ukraine up until 15 year old. We decided to move to the United States and settle down in Metro Detroit area. So I finished half of high school. I attended in Ukraine and half here. Afterwards, attended university. Right now, I'm currently part-time master's student and a full-time engineer in one of the many Metro Detroit OEM companies that support the huge automotive industry in here.
Wow, so you guys are really, you are educated. To say the least, the two of you have went on to further education, with university. So, what's the plans after university? I know Oksana, you said that you're studying marketing. Roman, you're doing engineering. What's the plans after that?
I mean, well, for us, I think we would hope to travel, but right now with the current situation, we don't know when it will be safe to do so. But once we graduate, yeah, we do have hopes to continue to travel as much as we can before starting a family. Eventually, we do want to have our own family and then continue our travels with our future children.
So, do you think that before you get to the stage where you settle down, that full time travel is something you're going to look at, or is it you going to continue now with the part time traveling and just go through it that way?
I think it's gonna continue to be part-time travel, full-time job, and family raising kids. We might look into relocating for work, like getting sent on some international assignments. That would be great. Maybe Europe, South America, whatever
Scotland's
opportunity.
really sunny, so no matter what anybody tells you, Scotland's really sunny. So if you get the chance to come here, you should come here.
I'll be very open. Honestly, anything, anywhere will interest us. Something different from our culture, something what we experience.
So let's talk a bit more about that. So you both moved from Ukraine.
Yes.
So why move from Ukraine to US? Is that more a decision for your parents, kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, I think that's more of a decision of our parents. I mean, I feel like I don't know about other countries, but Ukraine specifically, a lot of the people look to America for a brighter future for themselves and their children. So I think the opportunity had arisen for both my parents and Roman's parents, and they just decided to make the move and provide something more for us than we would have potentially have had in Ukraine.
Okay. So when we talk about traveling, what got you started with traveling? Where did you get the travel bug from?
We're pointing at each other right now. um, I think, well, our first travel was actually Australia. Roman's very close family friends had lived there. So that was our first official trip together. I mean, before that, we both went to Ukraine to our own separate cities. And then Roman had to come pick me up so I can go back to where he's from, check that out. But we didn't really count that as like our first trip together. The first real trip, I think, was Australia. And I mean, we got lucky because we didn't have to really pay for transportation there.
Lodging.
Lodging, we stayed with the parents. They showed us around. And I think that was the first, and that family friend is actually very into traveling. So he was telling us about his experiences all around the world. And, it was something really, we were really interested in. So after that Australia trip, we came back and I think we started looking where we're going to go next right away after that. So I think that Australia trip like kicked everything off for us.
Yeah. So how long did you leave it before you came back from Australia to then take on your next adventure?
So we went to, I think, Italy that same summer for that road trip. So I think it was 6 months.
Yeah, right away we got into it. We found we got in touch with two of our friends. They're still based in Ukraine, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to Italy." I'm like, "Oh, we were planning the same. So let's make nice trip." So two of us and my brother from here, from States, and two of them from Ukraine, decided to meet up in Italy, in Milan, rent a car, and take a 10-day trip down the coast, all the way down to Rome.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was a good time.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
rented different Airbnbs at different cities, so it was constantly on the move. but it was exciting. We get to see a lot of places, experience different culture, different food.
Yeah, and I think one thing we really kind of tell everybody when we travel is we really try to travel on a budget. So that road trip, splitting it between another couple and Roman's brother, I mean, it came down really to a trip that would be equivalent to someone in Detroit going to like,
Vegas
yeah,
or East Coast,
it's even
West Coast.
cheaper.
So would you guys say you try to do traveling on a budget kind of thing? Like, is that one of the things that you look out for? When you're posting on Instagram and things like that, you're trying to show people that it can be done on a budget. Is that kind of what you guys are aiming at?
We started later on in our travels to show people how to get good deals on airline tickets.
I still think that through Instagram that's a little bit hard to do, but and we've been talking about doing a blog for a long time now, but it's just a lot of work. But now
Yeah.
that we finally decided that yeah, we want to be able to show everybody that traveling is possible and on a cheaper route. So I think we're finally starting to work on that travel blog, and that travel blog will be a great opportunity to kind of show our tips and tricks and where you can save, or how you can travel on a budget and go around the world. I think that will be a better platform to be able to show all that information as opposed to Instagram. I think you can post a picture and you can only write so much that will gain people's interest.
Yeah, absolutely, and that the blogs as well. They kind of open your eyes to a lot of different experiences and things like that. The couple I was speaking to yesterday, as I said to you, before we started recording, they themselves they've got a blog, and they were speaking about things that you wouldn't even think about considering. So they're a travel couple, and then they've done a blog about drones, for example.
Mhm.
How useful drones are, and then to me as a I'm not a traveller, I'm a podcaster. So to me, although I'd love to be out there traveling, it's just not feasible for me.
Mhm.
So like to look at things like what type of drone or something like that do you take with you? And then I was speaking to someone previously as well. God, it's escaped me who it was. Um, I can't remember if it was another travel couple I was speaking to, and they guys, they said that they went backpacking and they taken a 40 litre bag with them, and that was it. For all these different places, and they were saying to them, it was Julia and Nacho, sorry, and they were saying that what they carry, that's it. And it's all these different considerations and things like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we do something similar when we travel for 10, 12, 14 days trips. We just have a backpack. How many liters is that one?
It's 40 and 45-liter backpack.
Yeah, so we just squeeze everything that we need and we go. I personally always have the worst luck. I mean, our trip to Australia, my luggage was lost for 3 days. So, and then more Roman saying how long?
About 5 to 6 days. She didn't have anything.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so we had to go shopping, and it's Australia. It's supposed to be super sunny, so you don't really need much. But like all my extra long pair of pants and like warm clothes just in case was in the lost suitcase. And of course, the first couple of days we were there, it was cold and rainy, which you never happens during the season
It's
that we went.
middle of their summer, and out of nowhere, they got the cold front and really bad weather, raining every day for a week.
So after that, we started taking everything with us onto the plane and not checking it in.
Oh, quite right. That happened to me once when I went to Ibiza. We were in. I was there with my wife, my daughter, and my mother-in-law, and we went for, I think it was 7 nights, um, and the whole time just rain, thunder, and lightning. I was like, you could not write it, And then everyone's messaged me back from back home. They're like, "Oh, it's so sunny here and everything like that." I was like, "You're joking! It's never sunny in Scotland." And then you come away to Ibiza and it's peeing down in rain. Um, yeah, so it's just your lucky. It's just your luck.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Craven Adventure, how did you come up with this name? How did you start? The Craven Adventure brand.
Well, Roman's not the most creative when it comes to uh, English and making up words. Not that this is made up or anything. I mean, I went and I searched through. I mean, all my ideas that I wanted was already taken. I mean, there are so many traveling accounts out there already, so many travel couples. So it was kind of hard to kind of secure what I actually wanted. And I don't even remember what I wanted at this point. So it was me and one of my best friends was helping me brainstorm some ideas. Of course, like two brains is better than one. And then was playing around with like adventure and like craving adventure, and our last name actually starts with the first four letters of KRAV. So when you can't do craving adventure, create just with a C, that's already taken. So I'm like, let's see if we change the C to a K. And then it wasn't taken. I'm like, oh, this is actually a nice touch because it kind of matches our last name. So, and then it was from there, it just turned into craving adventure and it stuck.
So, what was your friends and family like when you spoke to them about becoming a travel couple? Taking it on Instagram. Did you get a lot of support? Did you get a lot of stick? Did you get a lot of slagging? Um,
We didn't really share this with our family. I think we just kind of started. But I did share with my friend, and she absolutely loved the idea. And I mean, we started it as a hobby, so because it's not full time, I mean, they're not like looking at us like, oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. You're dropping everything to go like travel the world. You're not gonna have anything to come back with, you know. So because this is just a hobby and we're traveling, we've only gotten positive feedback, even from our family. Like they're happy that we're able to go see as much as the world as we can. Because like our parents growing up in Ukraine, I mean, they didn't have the opportunities that we do now, and they were not able to see as much of the world as we did. So they're happy that we're able to do so.
and what is the aim for Craven Adventure? Is it to at one point? I know we kind of touched on it earlier. Is to go full time, or is it to see a certain amount of places? Is it to visit every country in the world? What's the aim?
I think to just continue traveling throughout our lives,
Yeah,
even with
explore new cultures,
yeah.
new destinations, just see different stuff.
We don't have like a target that we want to see X amount of countries. I think we just want to continue doing that for as long as we can and as long as we have the opportunity for it. And then when we have kids, bring them into that and expose them to different cultures and have teach them to have an open mind and see what the rest of the world looks like.
And that's a couple of times we spoke about kids and things like that. So do you think once you do get to the stage of settling down and having kids, do you think you'll take them travelling with you, or do you think it'll be more like a holiday, or is that where the adventure really kicks in and you say, right, okay, we're doing this as a family?
I think we will be dragging them with us everywhere.
I mean, obviously, it's going to get difficult with cost and
Mm.
doing things on the budget. So we're still going to try to figure out how to do those things.
It'll give us a different challenge to
Yeah.
tackle.
What was that? Sorry, I kind of missed that there.
It will provide us with a different challenge to tackle. It'll be something new because we already getting used to what are we looking for in traveling, like what do we plan for when you travel. But with kids, it's going to be a different curveball.
Yeah, and I think that information, once we're able to figure out how to do that and share that with the rest of the world, so many people have families. I think that would be so valuable to other families.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about it when we go on holiday with my little one, with my wee girl. Um, the amount of stuff that you have to take, but when you think about doing it as a traveller, I don't think it's possible to take the amount of stuff that you would have to, for a holiday. So yeah, I think it is very fascinating for these people that do travel around the world with their kids. I also think it's a very insightful thing to be able to see, because the experiences that the kids will grow up with, and they're not growing up with one certain culture, they're seeing everything of the world, and that must only be a positive thing for anyone growing up. So talk about what other passions do you have, outside of travel, outside of studying. I'm not saying studying's a passion, it might be, but outside of what you guys do day to day. What's your other passions?
At the moment, backyard landscaping ideas running through our daily routines.
Yeah, I mean, we own a home, so and with our traveling and with work and school, that doesn't leave us with a lot of extra time. But like the house is always a priority for us too, making sure it's clean. And when we purchased the house, I mean, there was still a lot of yard work that had to be done. So we've been doing a little bit of that every year and trying to make it a little bit more attractive on the outside.
I mean, I already got a mini football pitch set up, so it's nice for me. I can go out and practice in the backyard.
Roman's obsessed with soccer.
So who's your team?
Uh, my favorite team when I grew up was AC Milan, but then around like 2005 or 2004, when I watched Chelsea play with Francesco Zola, I fell in love with that team, and I've been following them ever since. So I'm
I'll,
anxiously waiting for Premier League to restart.
I know. I think it's with everything that's going on, it's going to be difficult to get up and running again.
Yeah, it's not, they shouldn't rush it. That's for sure.
Definitely, health definitely comes first. That's why
So,
everyone should be staying at home and listening to the podcast.
yeah. So, question for you: who's your team? Celtic or Rangers? Well, you got some.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that.
Yeah,
Rangers.
Rangers.
Yeah,
Oh, Stevie G's doing pretty good job.
yeah. It could be doing better, but
Even things. I mean, Rangers got hit really hard for the past few years.
I know, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah, it was such a nice rivalry to watch constantly. Celtic versus Rangers going back and forth.
Yeah, it's just for me, football's kind of taken a sidestep. Although I do love it, it's just I think for me, especially or Rangers fans in general, I think the last 9 years have just been filled with disappointment.
Yeah,
So
it's not good. They were relegated and then some financial difficulties, as far as I remember.
that's a touchy subject.
No, sorry, let's not go into that. Well, I still play football. Well, I used to, until Corona. We play football on a weekly basis every Sunday, pickup games, and during the summer we have our season. We uh, we have 3 Ukrainian soccer teams here, well, football teams in the metro area, and I'm playing and managing one of them, the
All
Open
right. What's the name of the team?
FC Hovela.
What league are they in?
It's the amateur Metro Detroit Soccer League.
Okay. So you're going to have loads of listeners then.
Say it again.
You're going to have loads of listeners then.
Doubt it.
And what are they guys like? With you, when you're with your training and with the football and stuff like that. What are the footballers like with you when you talk about travel and things like that? Do they come to you for advice and tips and that kind of thing?
Some come up definitely after my trip and then ask how was it, how'd you do, how'd you book it, where'd you go, what'd you see, things like that. And I'm always happy to answer those questions. And some of them try and go, but they bring their own, ideas.
Okay. So let's talk about you spoke about the different cultures that you enjoy experiencing. So where's the best place that you've found for a different culture, to what you are used to? What's the best culture you've experienced?
I think Philippines or Bali was the most different culture from what we experienced. That was very nice to experience ourselves. Different food, different people, how they go on their daily lives. But
So
then,
talk
go ahead.
so talk to me a bit more about that. So what was so different from Detroit to Philippines, Bali? I know there is a difference, but for people that have never visited any of these two places or three places, what's the major differences there?
Well, basically, it's Asia. It's completely different from where we are living and growing up and where we grew up. different food. They're all in Buddhism, different religion.
Yeah, and just like how they live their life is completely different. Like we can hop in a car and drive to the grocery store, pick up what we need. Their experiences, they go out into the market and they go probably most of the time they walk to the market, get what they need for the groceries. And that actually it's a little bit similar to some places in Ukraine where it's like an open market with fruits and vegetables that you go in. It's not like in a supermarket or anything. It's just farmers selling their fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, and do have in mind we live in Michigan. In Michigan, if you don't have a car, you can't really go anywhere. So there's no public transportation is very crappy here. So to get anything, to do anything, you need a car.
Yeah, and not just in Philippines or like in Asia and Europe too. Like you can get around with public transportation. A lot of people do that. A lot of people go get their groceries, whatever they need on public transport and come back. Like living in Detroit, it's just not possible to do that. So just that alone is just such a huge difference. And then just their holidays are different, obviously, because of their religion is different and their way of life. I mean, I think in the United States, there's a popular saying that we live to work. But like in Europe and Asia, people are working to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is as well, for what you get in these type of countries compared to what you pay for them here, there's a world of a difference. There's so much more flavour, so much more experimentation, so much more. There's just so much more in general. When I think about street food in Philippines or or just Asia in general. You don't get that here. Well, you certainly don't get that in Scotland. You don't get street vendors and that kind of thing. And if you do, it's all the same kind of thing. Like a hot dog or a burger.
Mhm.
That's pretty much it. And it's that whole different experience. We were talking. People I've spoken to previously. Some people absolutely love the Philippines. Other people, Thailand, Vietnam, and things like that. And it's all about the experience of, eating a cockroach or crickets, that kind of thing, But if somebody bring that to you here or at home, you'd be like, "That, get that out of my face," you
Yeah.
know. So did you try all that kind of stuff when you were over there?
So Roman's more adventurous with food, but I don't recall him trying anything.
No, we just for the most part we would have fresh fish almost every day, which I love. Because you go at any market and you can just my eyes would just wander everywhere.
Actually, Philippines, that was an interesting experience. I mean, they didn't really have any like little stores to go into to like menu restaurants. Like
So
literally, there's
street food.
yeah, there's a fish getting grilled, like a raw fish on the side with like a small barbecue next to it. You come up, you say which fish you want, they grill it, and then there are some like tents with some picnic tables in the back of it, and you just start eating. And there was literally nothing else. So if there is like someone that's really picky, I mean, they probably would would starve. I'm a little bit more on the pickier side, but I like fish and like they had a potato stew that they quickly barbecued, so I survived. But anybody that's like worse, I don't know how they would manage.
Be looking around everywhere for a McDonald's. um, so you spoke earlier on about how much you like to travel, but you also like to try and do it on a budget and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So does that impact how much you travel solo, or is it something you do quite a lot? Is travel with other people?
So yeah, both. So when we travel with someone, we kind of allow ourselves to do a little bit more. But when it's just us two, then we cut back on something that we might have invested in if we were with a group.
Yeah, so we look at the cost of the trip. What would it cost us? Was we travel with two or one other person, we can split the cost of Airbnb or transportation.
Transportation.
But when we were two of us, we counted as one.
Yeah, so when we plan our trips, we don't just book our tickets and go. We literally have a full itinerary. Okay, what are we gonna do? What activities? How much should we leave for food? How much the activity is going to cost? So before we even go on the trip, we have a decent idea of how much that trip is going to cost us. And we know what we want to do. Because another thing, we don't have that many. We do have a decent amount of vacation days, but not enough to just kill time. So we need to have an itinerary. Okay, we're going to do this at this time, this at that time, so that we can fit in as much as we can and see as much as we can for the short amount of time that we are visiting a country.
And we don't stick till the exact minute. It's give
Yeah.
or take hour or two.
Yeah, I mean, for New Zealand trip, we had a full itinerary, but we were off of it constantly by a few hours, and sometimes we had to throw something off, or we saw something and we decided to add something in. So it's like an ebb and flow, but we primarily do as much of research and planning ahead of the trip as we can.
Yeah, this way we don't stay somewhere at Airbnb and spend half the time on our phone researching stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing. Since we're out there looking around all the time, we don't invest money on lodging. Like, well, we're okay if there's a bed and like a shower, and there's no point for anything more. You're there to sleep, and that's it. So, like, those are like some of the tricks that we've figured out where we can save money and not invest in more. Like, we don't need a luxurious Airbnb.
So how long would you say you start planning before you go for a trip? You know, how long would you say before you pick your location? How long do you give yourselves to plan and then, execute it?
It varies. For instance, our last trip that we went on, New Zealand, we spent about maybe 3 weeks of planning and booking everything.
Yeah, we were really late with booking that flight in general because we were trying to see if anybody else wanted to go with us. So that kind of pushed everything out. And then we were busy with school and work. So we we waited till last minute to book everything.
But it turned out to be a really nice trip.
Yeah, it was one of our favorites.
Okay. So, when you're talking about your itinerary there, so you're saying that you don't stick to it, 100%. You can change it, you don't plan to the hour kind of thing, but you do like to plan. When you're talking about itineraries and things like that, have you got any travel regrets where, you've been somewhere, you've maybe had a change of itinerary, or you've got somewhere and you've just not had the time to fit something in? Is there anything you've done travel wise that you maybe regret that you haven't done?
I think so. I mean, one thing off the top of my head is we went on a New Zealand skydiving, and because of the weather in the morning, we kind of wasted 3-4 hours just waiting around, which is something, or like more like 3 hours, which is something that I mean we like to avoid when we're trying to see as much as possible. So we made the most of it. We went to a little cafe shop and had a nice breakfast since it was early in the morning, and we usually don't do that. We're always on the go, so eating on the go. Roman has something though.
Yeah, I have one. I wish we would spend more time hiking at Mount Cook, because for us it was just quick, like 2 hour drive and then like 2 hour hike, and then get back on the road. Wish we would spend way more time over there. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that's like something hard to gauge is when you're researching how much time you'll need for an activity. And then so when you're trying to like not fall too far behind from your schedule and getting to place, you kind of have to choose what to do in those situations. So if it was, that's where like the blog will be useful. We can write about that and be like, you should invest a little bit more time in this specific area because we wish we would have.
Yeah. So you mean you talk about these places that you have the regret from, and places you spoke about how much you love them, but is there any places that you have travelled to that you just didn't like, and what was the reason for it?
I mean, I personally don't. I mean, I've enjoyed everywhere we've gone. I mean, it's an experience, and that's what we go for. I don't know, Roman, do you?
No, I can't think of a place I didn't like while we traveled.
Yeah, the world is beautiful, and I think every part of the world is beautiful. There's like nothing. we will have negative experiences here and there once in a while, but for the most part, it does not deter us from our feelings from visiting that country.
Okay. So, in terms of trip, all right. So, what's the cheapest trip that you've ever taken? So, tell us a bit about that for budget traveling. What's the cheapest trip?
I think it was Italy. We spent 10-day trip.
I think it was more 12.
It was around no more than $1,300, with including everything: flight, car rental, Airbnb, food, whatever souvenirs we got,
activities.
Yeah, we had 5 people on that trip, including both of us, and we got to see the most. We landed in Milan, stayed there for a few days, rented a car, and took a coastal trip down to Rome in 10 days. So that was the cheapest trip that we ever done.
Yeah, and because that was like the first trip that we actually did, like without having a friend living there and being able to benefit off that. Like that was our first trip that we traveled, and we're like, oh crap, like this can be done like relatively cheap. This is cheaper than seeing one of the states in the United States.
Yeah. Mainly the reason it was so cheap because we were able to split the cost between 5 people. So, and 5 people in the car, it's relatively comfortable.
Yeah.
The biggest expense there would have been your flights. Is that right?
Yeah, it was $800.
We flew out. We usually, so us living in Detroit, we don't necessarily fly out of Detroit all the time. Most of the time we fly out of Toronto or Chicago. And both of us have family and friends there in both cities. So we just drive up there and leave our car, take Uber to an airport, and that's it. On we go.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of us being able to drive to either Chicago or Toronto. The prices and flights are so much cheaper than Detroit, because Detroit's a hub, and that's why prices are up.
I'm not sure. I'm always able to find deals out of Chicago or Detroit, and it's only in either city is only 4-hour drive from us.
Yeah, so it's not bad at all.
And with your adventures, I'm guessing that you've built up like a network of friends kind of thing, other travel couples that you've met, other people that you've met.
Have we met other? We haven't met other travel couples. I mean, whenever we go, we're always seeing the Instagram vlogger taking photos. We've ran into a few people and like had a small conversation. I think in Bali, we ran into a guy from Poland or Russia. Well, remember he was cliff diving. You took a video of him.
Oh yeah, he was. He was from Russia. He just traveled the whole country in 1 month.
Yeah, and we were talking to him about how many vacation days he has and everything, and then we told him that we were there for like only 12 days, and he's like, I've been here for a month, and that's not even a month. How are you guys managing in 12 days? And just hearing that is just so insane for like the other countries that they have so much more time to go and see the world in comparison to the United States. Going back to the US is really living to work.
And how do you guys decide where's next? Without that network of other travelers, how do you decide where's next and what you're going to see?
It's random. Honestly, I can be sitting at work and on my Twitter feed we get a random notification. Oh, the tickets to Hong Kong, $400, and right away we can book within the same day.
Yeah, well, we check with like our school schedule and like work and everything, make sure nothing's getting in the way. But for the most part, we have a flexible schedule to be able to, if we see any deals, book right away if that's something appealing to us. So before it was more strategic. Now I think if there's a good deal, then and we can do it, we take it.
Yeah, we're more spontaneous. We took a spontaneous trip to Vancouver to go skiing, snowboarding for a few days, and it just same thing. It popped out on my Twitter feed, and we booked right away.
Yeah, we sign up to a bunch of Twitter alerts that give us kind of deals that are coming up. So we're always in the know of if a deal is coming up, and all over the world. So we're specifically looking for either Toronto, Chicago, or Detroit. But we get those notifications for wherever you can be in the world.
Okay. So there is one question that I do like to ask every traveller that comes on the podcast, or everyone that comes on the podcast. It's funny because my wife and my wee girl just came in, and I can hear them try to be quiet. Yeah, so there is one question I do like to ask everyone that comes in. So you must have one moment throughout your adventures, one breathtaking moment that you say that, this is why I'm doing this. What's that moment?
When I was jumping off a plane, and seeing Mom cook in the ocean and the ground coming at you really fast.
It's serious, like that skydiving trip was the skydiving adventure was definitely one of my favorites too, because that's something you literally can't get anywhere in the world. Like New Zealand is the adventure capital of the world, and it was just worth every penny being able to do that and experience there. Like, because if we were to do it here in Detroit, it would not compare. It's totally different experience. The views were just incredible and breathtaking, and I'm like, this is why I'm okay with waiting to do any activities on our travels in other countries, because it's just so much more worth it.
Absolutely. So where's next for you guys, travel wise? After all this lockdown, and you get a bit of freedom. Where's next?
Well, we had a trip planned for end of May to Japan.
So we're so sad we had to. Well, we didn't even cancel it. Delta canceled it. So we're very excited about that one. We were looking forward to that trip a lot, actually. So, and unfortunately, we don't, because we are spontaneous with booking. Japan was actually one of the trips that came up in our alerts being really cheap, and it actually falls across my birthday and just right after Roman's birthday and our 1 year wedding anniversary. So we're like, oh wow, that's going to be a wonderful trip for us to celebrate all that.
Yeah, it's funny. We booked that trip in the middle of a New Year party.
Yeah. Like I said, when those come up, we don't let them go. And we have but I mean, after this, there's no way of knowing of when all this will end.
Everything's gonna change after this pandemic will hopefully end soon, but it's not gonna be the same. So we're gonna have to adjust.
Yeah, we're going
to whatever
to see.
life is gonna throw at us next. So.
Absolutely, and I've got to say, I'm so jealous about Japan, because that is my number one destination. So I'm gutted for you guys that you aren't getting to go.
Yeah, hopefully maybe next year.
Hopefully.
And we'll put up all of our tricks and tips so that maybe you can make it out there too with your family.
Absolutely. Maybe when my wee girl gets a bit older, I can convince my wife to go.
Yeah.
I can convince the wee one to go, because I'll just say there's a Disneyland there. It's the wife I've got to convince. Right. So we'll move on to the story time part. All right, of the show.
Okay.
So this is what I kind of said to you guys. This is the only real part I like people to prepare. So what I want you to know is to take us on a journey. Tell us in detail about one place or an adventure that you want to share with us as much detail as possible. So I want you to talk about things that you've done, things that you've eaten, just somewhere you think everyone must visit at least once in their life.
All right, for us, I think that will be definitely New Zealand.
Yeah, for sure. It was a road trip, so we saw South Island and North Island. We spent a lot of time in the car, but it honestly didn't feel like it, because every corner of the country was just beautiful to see out of the car window. But I think we'll start from the beginning of how we got there, where we started, what we saw, and then from there.
Alright, so our flight for change was out of Detroit. We were able to book our flight with points that we've been collecting for years. So the flight was Detroit, San Francisco to Auckland, and then we took Jetstar, Auckland to Christchurch, where South Island, where we rented a car. Which one advice we would give: read the road rules before you rent a car, because they're definitely gonna start asking you questions.
Yeah, they will test you.
Yeah, if you don't know it, they'll give you a few more chances. But if you fail, they're not gonna let you rent a car.
Yep. So we passed. Roman reads a lot ahead of time, so he was more prepared than I was. So I let him take the reins on that one.
Yeah. Driving the first day was a little bit tricky. Something very hard to get used to. Driving on the left-hand side.
Because remember,
we're sitting on the right.
Yeah, because remember, we're coming from Detroit, so we have complete opposite.
I mean, you were driving on the right side of the road. You know, the way you're supposed to drive.
Yeah. No.
Wait, no.
You tricked me into it.
The correct side.
It's your correct side, not for the rest of the world. I think everybody else would argue with you on that. So something really hard to get used to. I think the first 4 days I was turning on the turn signal with my windshield wipers, and then wiping the windshield wipers with the turn signal.
So, because the wheel is also like obviously.
Yeah, everything's opposite. Thank God the gas pedal is still on the right side, because that would have been a mess.
So we rented the car, and I mean we were straight from traveling. Of how long of a travel is that?
We spent about a flight around 20 hours, give or take a few hours.
So we were, keep in mind, exhausted and renting a car, and we still had another about 2-hour drive to our first stop, which was Lake Tekapo. But before we headed out, we stopped at a grocery store to buy a bunch of food because we didn't have time to stop and eat. It was a road trip, so that was the majority of the trip. And we were hungry, so we ate, and then we started on our 2-hour drive to Lake Tekapo, and it was raining already. On the first day, it was raining, and it was hard to see, and Roman is like trying to figure out how to drive on these roads, and then they have a lot of one-lane bridges. So the first one that we came across, we're like, what is this? This is extremely dangerous. So there's like almost a cultural shock for us. Like, how are we managing through these roads? Because we have a lot of driving to do for this trip. But anyway, we made it to Lake Tekapo. It was pretty cold the first few days. But Lake Tekapo has the view of Mount Cook, and it's a major mountain, and it's beautiful with white caps on the top of the mountains. But the purpose of actually going to that destination was to see the sky, actually, for stargazing. The light pollution is very little there, so you can see the stars unlike, I mean, for us, anywhere in the world, because that was the first time seeing stars that bright and so many of them.
Yeah, stargazing was definitely our best experience. Every night, it was just breathtaking for us to look up and see.
Yeah, so we spent not even 24 hours. I think it was more about 16 hours there, and then we got in the car, and then we started traveling to Mount Cook, and that was again another 2-hour drive. But in that entire 2-hour drives, we saw mountains, valleys, any view you can possibly imagine. And then this is where Roman was talking about how we regret not having more time hiking Mount Cook, because you could actually hike as close to the mountain as possible. But I think we didn't even make it halfway. We spent an hour walking and didn't make it halfway, and that's why he's saying we wish we had more so that we could get even closer to what we did. Roman, anything else on Mount
No,
Cook?
from there on, we headed to Queenstown.
Yeah, and Queenstown is actually where we spent a couple days there because we had a few hikes that we wanted to do and see downtown, experience like, the food there. So we
First night we arrived, right away we unpacked and we out in the town.
We went to go get some food and just explore downtown a little bit. And it's a very small town, not a very big downtown, a lot smaller than I expected it to be. And there's just a bunch of small little shops, restaurants, and everyone is out and about, socializing, having dinner. I will say prices are very expensive there. We were shopping around for a bit on the restaurants, walking from restaurant to restaurant to see for a non-expensive dinner, which was really hard to find. But we stopped at it was
I remember
Indonesia.
Furburger was our favorite destination. We kept coming back to that joint.
Yeah, we went back. Those were from my research. That was the top burger joint that you have to visit when in Queenstown. It was delicious burgers, like seriously delicious. It was so delicious that we came back. How many times?
Like 2 or 3 times we were.
Yeah, and before we left for our next part of the road trip, we actually went in and had burgers for breakfast because it was that good. We also went on luge rides. Roman, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was fun. We recorded a few videos. We haven't yet to put it together.
But it's basically like human Mario Kart. You sit in these little plastic go-karts that it's literally plastic sitting on the ground, and you have a handle that
for
you
just
pull
for
braking, and like it lifts the front or the back, the front. It lifts the plastic casing up so that the wheels are driving on the road.
Yep, and the gravity does the rest, take you down.
Yep, and like you're just going downhill, taking a bunch of turns and running into people. I ran into Roman ran into me. So it was really fun. And you get tickets. It's very short though. It's within 3-4 minutes you're like down the track probably. Yeah. But we paid for 3 rides, so we were able to go back up and do it again.
Yeah, we visited a few other spots.
Hiking.
A lot of hiking.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of hiking trails, and we don't. I don't think we loved the hiking that much, but on that trip we just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, we usually don't. We're not hikers. I mean, we are active, but we don't. We live in Detroit. There's not many like outdoor activities that you can do. But Queenstown, a lot of hiking. We wanted to experience it, and we enjoyed it. I mean, there was one hike that we went on that I really wanted to make to the top of the hill. That takes an hour hike, and I wanted to make it for sunset. Timing did not work out very well.
Yeah, we got caught up elsewhere.
We were exploring other hikes and everything, and then we're like, okay, we really need to go start hiking that hill to see the sunset. I'm like, how long is it gonna take? It's gonna be an hour. We're like, okay, well, maybe if we kind of run up the hill, then we can make it there faster and make it for the sunset. Well, you can't run up a hill for an hour. That's not the easiest thing to do. I was struggling. I needed breaks every couple of minutes. So, and then the higher you go, obviously the colder it gets and the windier it gets. So it started to get darker, and it's starting to get colder while we're sweating because we're like trying to get up the hill as fast as possible. And see like the sun set with the city lights starting to turn on. And everyone's already coming down the hill. And we're the only 2 idiots that are still climbing up all the way to the top when it's getting dark with no other lighting. But anyway, we were already more than halfway there, so we weren't going to stop. So we got to the top, and we were late, unfortunately, but it was still breathtaking to see like the lake with the Queenstown lights, city lights turned on. And we had just made it when the colors were still like changing in the sky, so it still looked pretty cool. But it was so cold. so windy. I was hiding behind a rock so that the wind was not hitting me. Well, Roman was trying to like suffer and take some photos since we were already up there. And another benefit there was we were so far high up that we could see the stars again, and it was just beautiful. And I had the new iPhone, so with long exposure, I was able to capture some amazing photos onto my phone.
I think that was our best spot for stargazing for sure.
Yeah, it was a crazy story, but it was worth it. And then obviously it was an hour downhill in the dark, so we pulled out our phone flashlights, trying not to trip over rocks and kill ourselves. And then once you get closer to the bottom, it's like in the woods, so I started freaking out. There are like animals in there. Are we gonna get attacked? But luckily, we made it. We're safe, and it's a story we have to tell and remember to others. So those were like the highlights, I think, from Queenstown before we moved on to the next destination, which was
So this was the southern
island,
part
yeah.
that we went in New Zealand. Afterwards, it was all north.
And as we went more north, it warmed up. So next destination was Franz Josef, but we made some stops along the way just to see some glaciers and everything. But Franz Josef is where we skydived. And the whole purpose of going there was to see the glacier there and then skydive.
Yeah, the first day we did a little hike, get up close to the glacier. Yeah. And then the next morning we had a skydive scheduled at 11 a.m., which it didn't happen till about noon since the weather was a little overcast.
Yeah, but it's so sad for the glacier because the glacier used to start so much closer to like the walking path, but over the years and climate change, like you have to get really, really close up to see the glacier, and it's like very, very little amount left. So that was a little bit sad to witness, to see like the actual change of what's going on in the world, and like seeing the old pictures that they had over there of how far the glacier reached to the walkway. But then the next day for skydiving, that was our first time skydiving, and I think I was more like ahead of the trip or freaking out. Okay, what if this happens? What if like the parachute doesn't open up? And like you have those thoughts going through your head, like this is kind of scary a little bit. Surprisingly, once like we were getting hooked up and everything, I was not as scared. I was just super duper excited. Roman was sleeping on the couch, taking a nap, because there was a group of us, and there was a group that had to go first ahead of us, so we had to just wait until they were done and jumped out of the plane.
Yeah, I was way more relaxed about this.
Yeah, I was anxious to go like and experience it all. So we waited, I don't know, maybe like 40 minutes until it was our turn. And my partner was actually skydiving out from like the plane prior. Roman and like the other couple that was going with us, they're already like boarding the plane, and I'm still waiting there. I'm like, do I not have a partner? Like, what the heck? Like, what if he's not prepared? What if he's like rushing from the other plane? So what if like he misses something? So I was like getting really nervous for my.
So she's already freaked out and freaking out even more at this point.
But anyway, like he introduced himself, like he tied us up and everything, and the plane. So we went. How high was that?
1800. Yeah, 18,500 feet.
18,500 feet. The plane had gotten so high that like they actually put on oxygen masks on you, just so that you can catch your breath. And then Roman was the first one to jump out of the plane. So you want to explain your experience?
It was breathtaking. Like literally, you couldn't breathe. The view was amazing. It's just something. It's hard to explain in words. You have to see it and experience yourself.
Roman was drooling. I mean, I will say it's hard to like hold your spit back because like your mouth is open. So
yeah, now I know why the instructor's wearing the helmet
to protect their face from all the spit,
from all the drool that comes out of their face.
So I had a different experience. I tried to suck in my spit back before like it got out of my mouth. So I saved myself. But I jumped out last because I had a photographer, because I really wanted to capture that moment, but we couldn't do it for the both of us. So we just said we would do it for me. And those pictures are on Instagram. So if anybody ever wants to check them out, it's pretty cool. But so I jumped out had a different experience from Roman. I wasn't struggling breathing, but I also screamed like as soon as I jumped out of the plane. So, and that's what they say, if you can't breathe, to scream, because that'll like let out the pressure and like help you breathe again. So I screamed right away, so I didn't have that issue. But it was like more of a, oh my gosh, not like a scary what the heck, like oh my gosh, this is amazing kind of scream. So the free fall was 40 seconds.
Yeah, it was about 40 seconds, and then in the parachute another 4 minutes.
Yeah, and the parachute, my instructor, well, my partner actually let me hold the parachute and kind of the strings and kind of navigate where I want to go and everything. And we went through clouds, so that was like really cool. It was different than what I expected of going through a cloud. It was just really thick fog. That's what it feels like. But it was a really amazing experience. And honestly, obviously that activity anywhere in the world is going to be a little bit pricey, but that was something that we really wanted to do. So we kind of budgeted around to be able to afford that. So it was honestly worth every penny for me.
All right, so moving from our jump, that delay in the jump set us 3 hours behind, and we had to drive north of the South Island all the way to the port. So we had to race pretty much through the mountains, and the roads are really narrow and a little bit scary to drive.
Yeah, and keep in mind that was like our longest drive of the entire road trip, like of nonstop, so 6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours nonstop through the mountains. A little bit nerve-wracking. So we got to our hostel at around like midnight.
Yeah, and I was starting to worry because arriving that late, I didn't warn anybody, so I was worried that we would not have a place to sleep. But luckily, they like left the key. They told us where to like pick it up and everything, and we managed to go in. And the hostel was decent. I think the Franz Joseph hostel was a little bit more sketchy. I think that we tried to experience different things with Airbnbs and hostels can be sometimes cheaper for the both of us. So the one for the port was a nicer one, so no complaints there. Yeah, but again, we just slept there.
Yeah, for us, we arrived at midnight. By the time we showered, unpacked a little bit, took a quick nap, and we were up at 5:30 a.m. to catch the ferry to go to North Island, to Wellington.
Yeah, so we took that ferry, and Wellington, we actually stayed a night, so spent a day there.
Yeah, Wellington was more a relaxed day.
It was more relaxed, and to be honest, I don't think there was much to see there.
It's normal, small city. We went a few hikes there. It was nice.
Yeah, nothing too like fantastic. That like in comparison to Queenstown, I preferred Queenstown over Wellington.
We got spoiled because South Island is just amazing. Anywhere you look, anywhere you go, is breathtaking nature everywhere. Once you go to North Island, it's a little bit different. So we set our expectation way too high.
It's because Wellington, you come in and it's just city. You don't see any mountains and like your rear view mirror, like nothing. It's just city, and it's windy, super windy. Like they say, Chicago is a windy city. The Wellington, like this, there's no comparison. Like Wellington,
definitely
so
number one.
So we explored a little bit there, and then on the next day we drove to, where was this? 1 second. We're looking through our itinerary.
Where were we rafting?
Yeah, we went whitewater rafting.
Yeah, we headed more into middle of North Island.
Yeah, middle of North Island, Lake Taupo, it was called. And we actually drove straight directly to the water rafting location. And there was, honestly, it was a mess there. We walked in, we didn't know who to talk to. Like there were people running around. We didn't know what was going on. And there were like multiple groups. I think there were 6 rafts of about 8 to 10 people in each raft, approximately. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they gave us instructions. We hopped on a bus and they took us to where we're going to get into the water.
Yeah, dropped off on the river, and that was our first time water rafting like that. They had 7-meter drop. So they started was easy, like 2-meter drop, 3-meter, 4, and then 7-meter drop. So there was a little bit of adrenaline rush.
The 7-meter jump literally like submerged us completely underwater. I almost flew out. A photo captured me almost flying out, but like I managed to stay in the water. A little bit earlier though, they let us like jump out into the river and just kind of float on our back and just stroll in the river, like let the river take us. But they're also like about safety, so they're like, okay, at this point, make sure you like keep right or whatever, and then make your way around back to the raft, and giving us details. Roman, as with any adventure, has a death wish. Instead of taking the instruction the instructor gave us, he is swimming left. He claims he got pushed from accidentally and pushed the opposite direction.
And the current very strong there, so it just grabbed me and just took me down the river.
Everyone's boarding the raft. I'm looking around. I'm like, where's Roman? I'm like, Roman. And I see him and I start yelling. He's far away. I'm like, Roman, what are you doing? Come back. He's like, I'm trying. I can't. And then the instructor is just like, well, I forgot that there's a rope that they can throw, but I'm like, I'm starting to worry. I'm like, he's about to like go down the waterfall down there without like anything. So he managed to swim all the way to the side and like grab onto a rock and climbed on top of it. And then we like floated up to the raft and he hopped back on. But every experience we have, Roman is doing something that he shouldn't be and almost getting himself killed. So that was a water rafting experience.
Rest of the day was easy. We went to some hot springs, just relaxed in some hot water.
Yeah, so these were free. We refused to pay for like some like spa with hot springs. With a bunch of research, I found there was literally, we were driving for maybe 10 minutes that Roman was just like, are you sure we're going the right way? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Like, just keep driving. I think I see like, look, there's a car coming. So it was like in the middle of woods and
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, middle of nowhere. Surprisingly, GPS was able to locate it, so we got there without any issues. But the hot springs were so hot. Roman's blood pressure started rising up because he couldn't handle the heat. But it was a really nice experience. I enjoyed it. A lot of algae though. I think I washed Roman's shorts like 10 times by the time when we got home to try to get the discoloration out of his shorts. So for tips for the future, wear black bathing suits if you ever go into hot water springs.
I mean, that whole journey sounds absolutely amazing. You know.
Yeah, it was
somewhere.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful on every location. And I think from there, we went
north. Well, we were making it slowly north to Auckland. That's what we were supposed to leave. So before that, we hit Hobbiton. I've seen all the Lord of the Rings movies and Hobbit movies, and Oksana has seen none.
Yep. So when I came home, I watched it, and that was actually really cool because the tour guide was like telling us all these secrets of like how the movies made on set and everything, and like just seeing the setting itself was just like, really cool to see. Because when I watched the movies, I'm like, oh, I was there.
Yeah, I knocked on the door.
So that was a cool experience. We screwed up a little bit with that one because we didn't buy tickets ahead of time. So there was only one time available for 12 o'clock, but that wasn't working with our schedule. So Roman called in advance and was just like, if anybody cancels, like, do you think we could like hop on an earlier tour? So we managed to, as soon as we arrived, we actually were able to.
Yeah, we got on the tour.
We got extremely lucky that time.
So we saved some time.
Yeah. So that was like a quick break in between our drive up to Hot Water Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that?
The beach. I'm not like a beach bum like Oksana is.
I love the beach.
I like hiking nature. Oksana loves the beach, but this was kind of different. So we come in a low tide. You rent a shovel, and then you go out digging.
In the sand.
In the sand. You dig a hole enough, and then you have a hot water spring coming up.
It's like a hot tub in the sand. And you should have seen how many people were there.
Yeah, the beach was filled with everybody with a shovel digging the hole.
And it's like a surprise because if you dig a hole, you might come across water, but that doesn't mean the water is going to be hot.
Yeah.
So you just spent all this time digging, aka Roman. I was spent
like 30 minutes digging the hole. And it turns out to be cold water from the ocean.
So then we tried to go find another spot, which is really hard to find because there are so many people already out there.
Yeah, hundreds of people digging a hole everywhere.
Yeah. But that beach was wonderful, though. I love waves. It was really cold water, I will say. Also because of time of the year that we went.
No, it was summer.
Yeah, but it was closer already. But yeah, it should have been warm because it was end of summer. But water was cold, but waves were amazing. I love waves. So we would just take turns because it's only two of us. We didn't want our stuff taken. So I would go into the ocean and then go into our little hot tub to warm up, and then we would switch. So that was an experience. And then the next day we went to a different beach with like also a hike to get there with like a beautiful cave kind of combining the two beaches. So that was an experience too, but that we just chilled on the beach all day that day. And I think that city was we actually had sat down and had food. Not many restaurants because it's like a small little town, but the food at the restaurant that we ate was delicious. We literally came back. I told Roman, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to go back and like literally order the same exact thing that I had the night before.
They did have some really, really good lamb chops.
It's probably so when you find something though you really enjoy, that's what makes a difference for it. And
yeah,
because it's not something you're getting all the time, it's something you're like, right, I want to go back for that again.
Yeah,
especially lamb chops. I love lamb chops.
Roman's our lamb chop lover.
Yeah, we have a lot of Arabic restaurants here, so you can always find the good lamb chops.
I mean, in comparison to
New Zealand,
because it's lamb. Like lamb is everywhere.
Yeah.
But we're the same. We're the same in Scotland.
Right.
Lamb's everywhere, but still try to find that good chop that takes it out of you. But there's a good couple. If you're ever in Scotland, I can recommend some.
We'll look you up. Sure. Be careful. Be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely, go for it. No, guys, listen. Thank you very much for taking us on that adventure. It was absolutely amazing. So I've actually got a couple of questions from guys from Instagram for use. So as you know, I put up a little questionnaire kind of thing, saying that I was going live for you guys tonight, and we've got a couple of questions from some people. So you can decide who answers them. All right. So we've got the first one from Charlie_Tours. Which is, what do you guys find are some of the benefits of traveling?
You broaden your horizon. Your thinking change after you travel and you see other people, how other people live. It's either not everybody lives like you. What we think is normal for us, it's going to be way different for everybody else.
It gives you a different perspective and appreciation for what you do have, because we're a little bit more fortunate living in the United States and have what we have, but the rest of the world is not so fortunate. I mean, like, for example, Philippines, their homes are not literally like four walls. You're driving through and like you see four walls and you're just thinking like these guys are just used to this. For them, this is not anything different. And then imagine when like a natural disaster comes through and just wipes everything out, and then they have to rebuild. So I think that's it gives you an appreciation for what you do have, and what Roman says, makes you more open-minded to that everyone's different, and respect and appreciate what everyone else is going through.
Absolutely. The next one comes from Discover2 in Talia. So they're asking, who's your favourite superhero?
Roman loves superheroes.
Yeah, but they're just fictional. The real one, I don't know how you think about it.
Off the top of your head.
Well, at the moment.
Okay, at the moment.
I don't know. I can't think of anybody.
It's all right. You can say one of the fiction ones if you want. The fictional ones.
If we're sticking to fictional, Wonder Woman. Yeah, I just love what she stands for and represents. And there aren't many female superheroes out there. It's always male. So I'm gonna have to go my feminist route and say Wonder Woman.
If you go on Switzerland, then I would probably pick Iron Man
Why?
because he's smart. A lot to do with technology,
Okay, I see that.
the tech wise.
And the next question, and this is the last one. It comes from the last travel couple that I've just interviewed. It's a Real Good Life. So they're asking, what is your goal in the next 6 months, and what's your plan to get there?
Um, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we can say anything travel related just because of the uncertainty we're living in right now. So I mean, I think we can base that off of more of career and professional goals. And for me, I think in 6 months, my goal is to graduate with my MBA. That's going to be an accomplishment for me because I've been in that for about 3 years, almost 4. So it's going to be an accomplishment to finally be done with that and officially be done with school. I'm not going back for my doctorate.
Roman?
There's a lot. My main one probably would clean the garage.
Oh, that's fourth on his list.
Right, so let's move on to the last part of the interview. All right. So this part is where I used to do some quick fire questions, but I normally do them with solo travelers. So what I've been doing with my travel couples is I've got a little competition going. All right. So there's 10 questions. One of you will step out the room. Okay. The other one will answer the questions, and the person that comes back has got to try and guess the answers that's been given. All right.
Okay.
Now, currently, we've got Country Diggers and Yulia and Nacho sitting on 7 points each, and we've got the last interview of It's a Real Good Life. They're sitting on 6 points. So, who's going to take on the challenge? Who's going to go first? Who's going to answer the questions and who's going to guess?
Roman wants me to go first.
Okay.
Okay, he's going in another room.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So you tell me when he's out.
he's out.
Right. Okay. So let's go for this. So what is your travel essential? So what must you have when you're traveling?
Our travel backpack, obviously. Our water bottle, because we are about not polluting the countries we visit with plastic water bottles. And then our tech, honestly, to kind of capture all these memories that we're making. I think
So
the top 3.
backpack, tech, water bottle.
Yeah.
If he gets one of them, I'll be happy.
One. I will.
So what's your hometown?
My hometown is Cherkasy, Ukraine.
Okay.
Oh,
And what's your favourite food?
can we go back on that one? You mean hometown currently or hometown like where you were born?
No, where you're born. That's fine.
Okay.
What's your favourite food?
Ooh, my favorite food. I don't have a specific one. Can I just say dessert? I love anything sweet.
Yeah, that's fine. What's a favourite country you've travelled to?
Favorite country? Oh, that's New Zealand right now. Yeah.
Okay. How do you relax when you're travelling?
How do I relax when I'm traveling? I think every trip that we've taken, at least so far, like we're around the ocean. So Roman will probably know this. Like, if I can put a day towards just beach bumming, that's like my favorite way to relax.
Okay. So beach. What's your favourite song or artist?
Song or artist? Ooh, oh, that's a really tough one. I don't think I have one. Oh, you know what? Michael Bublé.
Okay. What's your favourite drink?
I do like Coca-Cola, but I try to stay away from it as much as possible.
Okay. Favourite movie?
Favorite movie? I'm gonna go with genre. Romantic movies. I like romance movies.
All right, okay. Favorite TV show or season right now?
Ooh, um, Westworld. But this season's kind of turned into. We'll see where this season goes.
And can you speak any other languages?
Yes, Ukrainian. I understand Russian. Speaking is a little bit harder, and then elementary level of Spanish.
Okay. Right, bring them in.
Okay, Roman. All right, he's back.
Okay, Roman, are you ready?
Yep.
I don't think he is. We're going to hard questions.
Well, you said it. You said earlier you're always ready, Roman. So
Yep.
here we go. Seven out of 10 to at least tie for first. Okay.
All right.
So Oksana, when she's traveling, what must she have with her?
Oh, her face creams. I think.
Face creams.
Well, yeah,
Final answer.
yeah, the stuff.
I went more basic than that.
Backpack, tech, and water. Bottle, sorry, water bottle.
Tech is important. Our water bottle and our tech to capture all of our memories.
Right.
But you always packing.
I mean, I do my face creams.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
Well,
He just gave the wrong answer.
I'm more right than you, I think.
He knows me better than I know myself.
Right. What's her hometown?
Chakasa.
Okay. What's her favourite food? Or I'll say type of food.
I think dessert.
Oh, yeah. I think there was a bit of cheating going on there.
Probably. He was trying to think.
He couldn't get it anyway.
What's her favourite country that she's travelled to?
Oh, I think she would agree with me. It's New Zealand.
Okay, perfect. How does she like to relax when she's travelling?
Well, I would say me not. But it's not a final answer. But I would say me not annoying the hell out of her. But how she likes to relax on the beach.
Okay.
Wow, I'm impressed right now.
I'm impressed. One wrong so far. So who's her favourite artist?
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, I couldn't even answer that.
You know what? I say what she likes to sing Megan Trainor songs a lot. She's pretty good imitating those.
Who did you say?
Megan Trainor.
Megan Trainor. No.
What did she say?
Michael Bublé.
Who?
Michael Bublé.
Oh.
Now we can't. If you want to win outright, you can't get any more wrong.
Mm.
All right. So, what's Okasana's favourite drink?
Water.
Oh, no!
Tea.
I can't believe you right now. Again, twice wrong.
What? Oh, I know what it is. It's vitamin water.
No. Oh my god.
You're going to end up in the bad books.
I ask for it all the time, and I'm not supposed to.
Oh, Coke. Yeah.
Oh.
It's not her favorite though.
Right, now you're playing for tied first.
If there were no consequences to drinking Coke, I would drink Coke.
Oh, disgusting.
So now you're up for tied first. All right. So you can't get any more wrong
I
if you
can't
want to
do
tie
that.
in first.
Easy one.
Yeah, but I thought we drink the most.
Right. Okasana's favourite genre of movie.
Uh it's probably long movies. she doesn't get to pick movies very often. Well, once in a while, I'll let
But
her.
when I do,
Yeah. She always has a bad luck of picking the movies.
yeah, all right.
But
So what are you going for?
it's love movies.
Love. All right, I'll give you that. She said romantic, but I'll give you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Almost.
Right, so what's her favourite TV season?
Oh Jesus, she watches a lot. Maybe Westworld.
Oh,
Is
you're still in it.
that it?
Right. Yep. So
There's
last question.
there's Ozark and there's Westworld. So
Last question. You cannot get this one wrong.
all right.
All right. Can Oksana speak any other languages, and what are they?
Well, she knows a little bit of Russian, Ukrainian, English, and Spanish, but she doesn't know how to cuss in Spanish. So I don't even consider her knowing that.
Sorry, I learned how to speak normally without cussing people out.
No, that's it. Perfect.
Was it? Yeah, my
You
thing.
got all four.
Nice.
So that's you tied now with Country Diggers and Yulia and Nacho.
All right.
So I'll put the leaderboard up soon, but somebody's going to have to get 10 out of 10 at some point.
I mean, we could have had 8 if you had a Coke. That's like the answer ever.
I don't know. I don't think it cope like that.
You don't, but I do, and you should know that.
Yeah, but if I would let you drink, it would have been something else.
Well, yeah, because I don't drink Coke because of that. Because it's bad.
I swear at one point I'm going to be responsible for a breakup of a travel couple.
Yeah, for real.
I'm happy you're in the hot seat and not me.
Well, guys, listen. Thank you very much for coming on today. I apologise for the original mix-up of the time differences. Our clocks did change. So an hour out. But listen, no, thank you very much for coming on and speaking to myself today. It's been an absolute pleasure, speaking to yourselves. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow your adventure?
For now, our Instagram handle @Kravingadventure with a K, not a C, in Craving. And in the future, just follow our Instagram to get updates on when the vlog will go live.
Brilliant. And what I'll do is I'll put all the links to their social media, anything they send me over, it will all be in the comments below. But listen, guys, thank you very much again. It's been a pleasure speaking to yourselves, and I really can't thank you enough for coming on the Static Traveller podcast.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was. It was fun.
Yeah.
To anyone listening, don't forget to subscribe to the Static Traveller podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook. If you're on Facebook, give us a like. If you're on Instagram, give us a follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to give us a rating. 5 stars goes a long way. So thank you very much to everyone that has done that so far. If you want to feature on the Static Traveller podcast, please get in touch by sending me a private message. You can do this either on the Facebook page or the Instagram account. But guys, until the next time, you keep travelling and I'll stay static. Thank you.